All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a strange and fascinating global obsession, this powerful impulse to build fake New Yorks. Seriously, from Hollywood backlots to entire ghost cities in China, the story of the New York City replica, well, it tells us a whole lot about how we see the world.
So you gotta ask yourself why. Why this city? What is it about New York that has inspired more than a century of imitation? It's not just about the buildings, you know? It's about copying an idea of modernity, of ambition, of this, energy. And as you're about to see, the reasons we keep copying it have changed in some pretty wild ways over time. So, this story doesn't begin with tourists and gift shops. Nope. It starts with something way more practical. Pure, hard-nosed, industrial problem-solving. We're heading back to the early days of Hollywood, where the real New York City was a massive problem that needed to be fixed.
I mean, just try to imagine shooting a movie in Manhattan back then. You're dealing with weather that can turn on a dime, absolute chaos with traffic, crowds of people constantly getting in your shot, not to mention the permits, which were a huge, expensive headache. For these new movie studios, which were basically factories for making films, this level of chaos was it was a complete non-starter.
So the business case was pretty simple, right? Why on earth would you deal with reality when you could just build a better, more controllable version? The Hollywood backlot wasn't a tribute. It was a piece of industrial equipment as vital as the camera itself. It was all about turning a logistical nightmare into a smooth, efficient assembly line.
And this idea, it caught on fast. We're talking an industry-wide move. The major studios all started sinking huge amounts of money into their own private New Yorks. Paramount built its legendary set around 1927. Warner Bros. Followed in 1930, creating that gritty backdrop for all those classic gangster movies. Then Universal got in on the action in the 40s. These weren't places for you to visit, they were tools for work.
Okay, but then, in the second half of the century, everything changes. The whole purpose of the replica does a complete 180. It goes from being a private tool, hidden away behind studio gates, to being a public attraction, sold to you and me as an immersive experience.
And this is the crucial point, the big philosophical shift. It's no longer about what looks real on a flat movie screen. It's all about what feels real to someone who is physically standing there. The replica itself becomes the main event, the thing you're buying a ticket for. It's designed to sell you a feeling. And that feeling? Well, it did not come cheap. $460 million. That's the staggering price tag for the New York Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, a truly monumental effort to basically shrink an entire city down into one crazy resort. The goal here was just pure over-the-top spectacle. You've got a whole skyline crammed into one building, a 47-story Empire State Building, a Statue of Liberty that's half the size of the real one, and they even built a roller coaster that zips around the whole thing like a crazy taxi ride. This wasn't the real New York. It was New York, the Greatest Hits album. Intensified, edited, and, let's be honest, probably more entertaining for a lot of people.
This quote, it just absolutely nails the vibe of this era. It was originally about Tokyo Disney Sea's American waterfront, which opened in 2001, but it fits perfectly. These places weren't just copying buildings. They were selling a perfect, romantic dream. A clean, safe, nostalgic version of America that for a lot of visitors was way more satisfying than the messy reality.
All right, now we get to the most extreme part of the story. This is where the replica becomes something much, much bigger. It becomes a symbol of national ambition, a tool for global economic warfare. The dream is no longer just to visit New York, but to actually become New York.
And this massive ambition led down two very different paths. First, you have what's called economic arbitrage. Think of New Boyana Studios in Bulgaria. Their strategy was smart and simple. Build a super convincing New York for way less money, and you'll attract Hollywood movies looking to save a buck. And you know what? It worked. It was a huge success. The second path? Well, that's aspirational economics. And the poster child for that is Ujiapu, China, a project with a much grander and much more troubled vision.
I mean, just listen to that vision. It is absolutely staggering. With an investment of up to $50 billion, the plan wasn't just to copy the look of Manhattan. The plan was to copy its entire economic purpose, to build, from scratch, a brand new global financial capital.
But here's the thing. A skyline does not make a city. That grand dream slammed headfirst into economic reality, and construction just stopped. Ujiapu became famous, but for all the wrong reasons. It's now the international symbol of China's ghost city problem. This surreal landscape of empty, half-built skyscrapers. It's a powerful lesson that you can copy the hardware of a city, but you can't just build its soul.
So that brings us right up to today, to the latest chapter in this story, where the scale shrinks a lot. We're moving away from copying entire cities, and we're zooming way, way in, focusing on specific, intimate, and culturally resonant spaces. It's all about capturing a single, powerful memory.
The key idea here is atomization. Instead of trying to capture the whole city, modern replicas isolate one potent little piece of it. This whole trend is being driven by fan culture and the experience economy, where the real goal is to have a personal connection and, let's be real, get that perfect photo for Instagram.
Just think about the shift in scale. The old replicas in Vegas or Hollywood, they gave you a whole city. The Friends experience? It gives you a couch. But for a true fan, sitting on that iconic orange couch in a recreated Central Perk, that's a much more powerful and personal experience than seeing some miniature skyline. It's about the depth of the connection, not the size of the copy.
Rise NY is another perfect example of this new approach. It takes you on this really curated, multi-part journey. You start off with real history in a museum, then you step into a very specific replica, a 1904 subway station, and the whole thing ends with this high-tech 4D simulated flight. It's this incredible blend of a museum, a replica, and a theme park ride all rolled into one.
Okay, so let's zoom out. After this journey through more than 100 years of imitation, what's the big takeaway? What have we learned about why we are so obsessed with copying New York City? Let's put all the pieces together. When you look at it this way, you can see 4 really distinct ages of the replica. It started as a practical tool for an industry. Then it became an entertaining experience for tourists. Then it became an ambitious dream for entire nations. And today, it's an intimate memory for fans. Each one of these ages is a perfect mirror, reflecting the biggest cultural and economic ideas of its time. And to really get why these copies are so appealing, you have to understand this one cool, kind of brain-bending concept, hyperreality. This is when the simulation, the copy, actually feels more real or more satisfying than the original thing. Think about it. For a tourist, the clean, concentrated, thrill-a-minute version of New York and Las Vegas can be better than the real thing because it's an edited highlight reel with none of the grit or the smell or the inconvenience. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In a world that's so saturated with media, where our ideas about a place are shaped by movies and TV shows long before we ever go there, what does authentic even mean anymore? The story of the New York City replica? Well, it turns out it's really a story about our own changing relationship with reality itself.